Ladies and gentlemen, some Angry Nation podcast. Welcome to it. So I did promise the sad fight song. We'll fight. We'll ever fight. Glory to the green and white, etc., etc. But yeah, it was a sad day. It's kind of cool here at MGN HQ. So if you're watching on YouTube, from the looks of it, it looks like not a whole lot of people are watching it. I can tell. I do the YouTube for like two people. That's people that care about it. They're like, "Oh, can you put it on YouTube?" I'm a big fan. Sure, I'll do it. It's fine. You know. But most people listen on
That was
their
my
app.
mom, by the way.
I just want to see your face, mijo. You're so cute. So like, it's kind of cool here at MGN HQ. So if you're like, "Why he's in the sweatshirt already?" Yeah, it's kind of cool. I see that you're in a tasteful hoodie. Yeah, I don't pronounce the H in hoodie. I just say hoodie now. That's my new thing. I'm gonna try it. People gonna find
Hoodie
me.
and at and
I got my hoodie and my at. All right. So like, what's that final score? Did I look at that right? Yeah, it was right. 66-21. 35 points scored in the second quarter by Tech. And, like they set a few records. It's like the most scored, at halftime or in a quarter. I was looking at the notes that we sent over to ourselves. Like, check this out. And it was like the most we allowed since Rice did it at halftime or something like that. That sounds about right. And, like, I don't know what to say about it that it hasn't already been said. So I think this is just really like some catharsis here, where we're gonna just talk about it and how we feel about it, and then we'll get a little bit into like, well, how to fix it. Because I think number one on everybody's list is like fire everybody, right? And that's usually it. So I think we're not gonna dismiss that out of hand. We'll say,
I mean, if you want to talk about catharsis,
everybody fucking fired. And when you get in on Monday, you better fix this crap, because that's kind of it. We're not going to fire anybody. Like, there's a practical aspect of it. Now, should people's jobs be threatened? Like, maybe, contract renewal time, maybe don't ask for the kitchen sink. Yeah, maybe. Like, the agent's like, God dang, I'm not going to get that increase. Let me adjust my budget. You know what I mean? Like, maybe don't buy that second boat kind of deal. So I'll read this. Texas Tech, 52 first half points and 35 points in a quarter were the most by a UNT opponent since Rice accomplished both on September 27th, 2008, when the Owls scored 56 in the first half with 35 points in the second quarter. I remember that game for a couple reasons. Like, one, I went to school with Rice's wide receiver guy, so I always like to tell the stories. Like, yeah, he beat me out. The only guy to beat me out for wide receiver was the guy that scored 60 touchdowns. Whatever. That's my little joke. The other thing is that I remember I was working that day. I had to work. You got to work Saturdays when you're young, and I pulled out like my phone to check the score, and I was like, "There's no way that it's 52 to whatever at halftime. Like, how is this even possible? Like, ESPN must have this wrong. This is not true. It was true." Just like this was true. Everybody, I saw a lot of tweets about it. Like, I went downstairs to, let the dogs out or something, and I came back up, and Tech scored like 20 extra points. Like, how did that even happen? Yeah, it was just bad, right?
I mean, if you were watching it live, you kind of felt the same way anyway. You didn't have to walk away for a second to feel that confusion.
Yeah. What is happening right now? What is? I mean, there was a little bit of an aspect there too. Like, it felt like a video game, where you're like, that wouldn't happen. The game's cheating. this is not realistic. I hate EA Sports. Now, I might hate EA Sports just because it felt like that. Like, so if you didn't watch, you don't know, you whatever. Maybe you went to walk the dog and you really wanted to know. No, no, no. Really, what happened? Well, I don't get it. So North Texas closed within 10-7. Right, 75-yard touchdown. Tech gets the ball, and they just throw it over the top, and they did a little. I don't know if it was RPO, just play action. Doesn't matter. It ends up being the same thing. Um, they fake the ball to Taj Brooks. They look at Coy Eakin down the sideline going against Nelson, and they threw it up to him. Nelson he was running step for step in phase, as they say, right? As I think it's a Nick Saban term, and Nelson slows down a little bit because he wants to high point the ball. He jumps, he misses it. Eakin catches it, walks into the end zone, 70-yard touchdown. Okay, all right, whatever. We get the ball back. Do a little play this way. We have a little flood concept going to the right. You have number 23 Oscar Hammond running a little, brought to the flat. You have number 14 Kyle Koch running the deep flag, the sail route, whatever, the out deep out, whatever you want to call it. And Morris is rolling that way, and he decides to go for the big hero ball, in my opinion, and throw that flag route. I think that's the desired route we want to throw. It was sort of open, but not enough. Number 0, what's his name, Braylon Lux, jumps the route. Cook probably didn't fight it as hard as you want him to, but whatever. I don't think that route should have been thrown.
And the pass was underthrown a little bit too.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, that's one of those things where, like, yeah, that's the right one, but if you have the big arm and the higher levels you go up in football, into big time college football in the NFL, the more gunpowder you need behind that cannon, because if you can't make it there, someone's gonna get it. Braylon Lux got it, and I don't know, said coincidentally, Chandler Morris had called out that corner and said that's the dude to look out for. He's good. He's talented. He picks off the pass, intercepts it, pick 6. Okay, that's not good, but 24-7, you can come back from that. It's only a couple touchdowns, whatever. Okay, next play, we run a little crossing route. I don't know exactly what it was. It wasn't quite mesh. It just looked like shallow cross to number 14 Kyle Koch. Chandler Morris is looking. He's looking. He finds his guy, fires it at him. Koch. Ball smacks him in the head, something. Ball pops up. Koch was like, I have no idea where the ball is. Tech pounces on it. Interception.
I gotta say, I've never seen a ball ricochet like that before, just straight up into the sky, 30 feet in the air. And you were talking about, maybe not having enough gunpowder behind that cannon, but in that one you could tell he just shot it right at him. I was like, maybe put some touch on it, man. But yeah, that thing just went way up in the air. Obviously, when you got a helmet on, there's no shadow to look around for. You're like, where the hell is that ball?
It's a terrible feeling. So interception. And then here's where you get into count, because up to this point, you're like, okay, that was one man's miss, right? Nelson attempted to, I called that a hero play. I felt like he should have stayed in phase. If you stay in phase, it's an incompletion. I understand why he went to high point it. I know as DBs, depending on your DB coach or whatever they tell you to to high point the ball. There's a lot of stuff like that, but I felt like he mistimed it. That's ultimately what it is. Okay. And then the second one, defense didn't do anything about that, right? Like you were on the bench when they do a pick 6, whatever. Those are not your points. The defense didn't stop them. I think Tech scores I think this is the one where they threw it over the top to the tight end. I can't remember.
Oh yeah, that was like he was like a pop route or something.
Yeah, that might have been later because I think this one was just like a short drive, and then number 10, the QB just scooted in from 10 yards. I think that's what happened. I'm trying to remember it and also look at the notes.
It's hard to keep track. 66 points. Yeah, could have been that one. Could have been
which one of the 7 touchdowns was it? So they scored there. So you're like, okay, defense, that was maybe your time to shine. Help out your offense. Okay, 31-7. Still not necessarily that ridiculous, but now you get into blowout territory. You absolutely need something good from your offense here. And then I don't even know if it was the second play. It was so quick. A little swing route to Wyatt Young. He of the 75-yard touchdown. He slips, ball hits off his hands, pops up, and guess what? Interception. And then Tech goes down, scores again. And by this point, you're just like, okay. And I think you could see Eric Morris throwing the flag because he was like, all right, we can't stop them, and our offense isn't doing anything. We need to get to halftime. And so I think the next drive was like 3 straight runs.
Runs and runs and runs. Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell that he was like, we're not here today. It ain't gonna happen. And
I will say that interception with Wyatt Young, that has happened to me in EA college football, where you toss it and it bounces the wrong way and it's straight into a defender's hand, even though it's not physically possible, but it happens anyway.
So I mean, the totals for the game, North Texas made themselves look a little bit better. The 500-yard offense games are gone, right? It was 353, and a lot of that, almost all of that, was second half stuff. So you don't. This is a thorough beatdown, is what I'm trying to get at. Like, first quarter only, North Texas 97 yards, Texas Tech 208. Score was 17-7, right? And they had that long one. Second quarter only, 35-0 Texas Tech, 207 yards to our 66. We had 3 turnovers. First half total, 415 for them, 52 points. 7 for us, 163 for North Texas. And second half, it was more even. It was 14-14, in case you're wondering. We had 190 yards. They had 183. Right. It was all garbage time, throwing it to backups against backups.
Yeah, after the first half, there's nothing you can glean from it. I mean, the whole game itself. I don't know if there's any take homes for it.
Yeah.
End to end.
I will say that I thought Miles Coleman looked quick. Like, he had some burst.
Sure.
3 catches, 75 yards for him, as long as it's 49. And, I mean, again, all they were doing just throwing him little screens. Let's throw those screens, right? I think that I like what Wyatt Young has done, but, we'll get to this in a second. The hint for the future segment is just basically, I think there's room for Miles Coleman to get some run. Let's bring him up. Let's get him some more touches. I thought Shane Porter, he's like a third-year guy. He's been a career backup kind of dude. He had 7 runs. He ran hard, and he played hard, and I appreciate that. Like, it's real easy to quit, and he didn't quit. They played hard, so shout out to those guys. Drew Mestamaker, I just wanted to see what he had because everybody was like, he has a little something out there. Well, what did he have? I thought he was making decisions quick, and he had a little scoot. Like, he's a big dude, 6'4", 220, something like that. He's
got some legs.
Yeah, ran down the side, and I was like, look at this guy doing some things.
Pressed Y.
So, all right, let's get into some bad. Number 1.
Wait, that wasn't the bad?
No, I mean, that was just a description of the game. That was just an account.
So we're just doing this all over again. We're running it again.
Yeah. All right, so let's answer the questions, right? Should we fire everyone, including, I mean, the radio broadcast, they had trouble too. I saw that, I guess our play-by-play guy, he couldn't make it or something, and then we couldn't get some of the crew, and so, they had to slide over and then use some Texas Tech dudes. Weird. I don't know. I didn't know I was too busy, but I didn't get a chance to set up the radio thing. My wife listened to the radio because she was dropping the kids off at dance, and so I don't know. But then she doesn't know who's who on the broadcast. She's like, I don't know. They're all the same to me. So should we fire everybody? Is what I'm getting at, right? Should we fire us? Should we resign our positions as Mean Green Nation podcast hosts for our roles in this effort?
No contract extension.
Mm-hmm. We're also going to be day to day. Maybe maybe I need to go to one of those American ones so I can get an American kickoff because this is Conference USA kickoff. All right,
yeah, we got that one a long time ago.
Yeah, no, I just needed some water. My wife's like, use this thing. All right, sorry, I'm talking about the drink container. The defense, were they good? Were they bad? Now, if you're reading the tweets that I tweeted or X'd, the X's that I've X'd, you seen like I was like, hey, this is pretty good, and then people jumping in as the score is like 52-7. They're like, what the are you talking about, dude? You're defending this defense. So like early on, and I'm talking that first quarter when it was 17-7, and even before that when it was 10-7, I saw some good by the defense, right? And that's what I was getting at. People were like, oh man, it's like Cal in that first drive. It's like, no, it's not like Cal in that first drive. Like Cal was slicing us up a lot easier. You remember that 4th and 1 where they ran through our dudes, broke 18 tackles on one play, and then scored a touchdown from like 25 yards out. That was just the next level of bad. This team looked a little slow, a step behind a couple dudes. There was one play in particular where what's his face? I can't remember. I think it was our linebacker. I can't remember. I don't want to call anybody out if I don't, because I know it was a linebacker where Tech was running right. They had like nub trips or trips left, and then a tight end at the line. They call the play. They roll out right. The tight end does a little hook route, but then he rolls out with the rollout. QB finds him. It's an 8-yard gain, and this is that one. So 3rd and 1, we stop him on 3rd and 1, then it becomes 4th and 1, and we allow the touchdown. I thought that play we were slow. Linebacker has to get out there, cover that better. If he covers that better, there's nobody to throw to, and maybe we have a different outcome. And then, like whatever, you get beat on that first drive. There was a lot of running by Tech. I think that was a feeling out drive. Whatever. I'm not super upset about that. This defense is not going to impose its will on anybody that's not FCS, and so I don't expect that from them. We're looking for effort. We're looking for eyes in the right place. There were some mistakes. I called out that Nelson one. That was not good. But I thought overall they were where we expect them to be, in the right place. The defensive line was getting some push. We had some tackles for loss early in the game. That was good. That's what we expected. But I thought they were put in some poor positions. And I tweeted about this. Mason Y. Barbo, former North Texas.
I was about to call that out too.
He's been saying this 3-down lineman stuff is not going to work. It's bad, and I consider his position, his view, with respect. I think I understand the 3-high system. I get the value, what you're trying to do there, and why you're trying to do it. You're like, look, we don't have 8 defensive linemen that can change the game, and so, but we can recruit 6 safeties, right? And they can change the game. And so we'd rather go with 6 safeties rather than trying to dig deep and get game-changing linemen, because it's difficult to find those kinds of guys. So I get that. However, I do think that you just need some packages with 4 linemen in there. Like you cannot be light on 4th and 1. We had our linebacker Wisloski head up on a guard, and again we talked all week. Texas Tech talked about their own size. Eric Morris talked about the size of the Texas Tech line and their tight ends. They're 6'9", 270 tight end number 80, who's like basically that's a light. It's
like a right tackle.
It's a freshman left tackle there, right? Like, man, kid, you got to put on some more weight, and then you can play left tackle in this league. That's what you tell those guys that are 270. But he can play tight end. He can shove you out of the way. They schemed it up where he was going against Byron Nelson, right? Our cornerback, 5'11", maybe 200 pounds if you give him a barbell while he's standing with you. That's poor scheming up there on our part. That's not good reaction to it. And again, we had our linebacker. I understand we're trying to get a heavy look, but just because you put a guy there doesn't mean he's in a good position to do anything. We can't ask our linebacker to go head up on a guard and win on 4th and 1. Roll out a defensive tackle. Roll out an offensive lineman if you can't find a defensive tackle. Just somebody just to be there that's heavier to move. Because what happened is the guard got to our linebacker and walked him 2 steps back, right? There was a lot of effort by Wisloski, but, I mean, I don't know. He's giving up 100 pounds there. What do you want? And then, again, you put him head up on him at the line of scrimmage. You're not giving him, let him use his strength, right? Part of the whole thing about doing this 3-high thing and with the linebacker stacked is that they can run around blocks. You're saying, all right, O lineman, you have to come out and meet me out here to get this block. I'm gonna walk around you, use my speed, use my quickness to get around this and get to the block. Well, on 4th and 1, you know, you can do that. You can step back, and they're gonna get the first down. So let's put some beef where it matters. Uh, Surely we have another. We had the three out there. We have backups. Put some dudes out there. It's 4th and 1. Let's have a package where we have 4 down linemen just so we can give ourselves a chance. Then we can put
Yeah,
Wazlowski out on that tight end and not Nelson. You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing in this play here?
and I think you're touching upon like three separate issues in being exemplified in one play. The easy one is the execution by Texas Tech. If you watch the replay, it was replayed during the broadcast, the end zone cam. You see the right tackle executing the block perfectly, the guard executing the block perfectly, and you think, okay, well here comes somebody else shooting the gap to hit Brooks, but then out comes the tight end, and so it just starts unfolding in all these blocks down the field to break open Brooks, and you're like, oh crap, what are we supposed to do about that?
Yeah,
How do you counter that?
the answer is to win your matchups, right? And so you could say, all right, well, we need 10, we need 15, we need 9 winning their matchups. Well, the play went away from 9. Shipley was like, he was wide. He was like, what was it, 5 or 6 technique, whatever it is. Um, and so the bubbles to the right, they ran towards our right, and it was like a double split flow. I think somebody said, whatever. We had our linebacker head up against a dude, so we had guys there, but they're like, you know what? We're gonna win this battle. Our guard against the linebacker, we'll take it. We can move him a couple yards. Um, 15 Valea, he was shooting I think it was like the C gap there. Right, there's a lot of guys. I'm trying to count it in my head. He was going to the C gap. He went to the right gap, but he got pinned, and so you need somebody in there. And then again, we have another matchup problem where we have a 6'9", 270 dude going against a 5'11", 180 dude. And, can you win that battle? Yes, you can. Now you draw it up and say, well, we need a guy to come over and fill. Whatever. To me, again, instead of Wazlowski at the line, let's put a tackle. Let's put Leonard there. And maybe he gets a little bit of a push to mess up that block for that tight end coming around. Maybe he makes the running back do a little skip, and he has to bounce it out. So then maybe Nelson has a chance. He doesn't have to meet him head on. He can come at his feet at an angle where he has a little leverage, something. And so when people are saying,
Yeah.
"All right, go ahead, go ahead."
No, I'm sorry. This is where the other two things that I'm talking about
Yeah.
is coming up. And scheme is the thing you've been bringing up this whole time, right? Where are we scheming it up to put our players in this position? Is it just for speed? Speed is killing us right now. Our own speed is getting in our way because we don't have the size. And then the third thing is, do we not have the right personnel? Why can't we bring it in? Is it a recruitment problem? Yes, it is hard to bring in big defensive tackles. If you're like me in college football and you start off with trying to recruit those 5 and 4 stars to your team, big giant guys, they before week 1 or week 0, they're gone. And then you try to target those 3 stars. They're in your pipeline, and you're fighting for your life against like Toledo or Temple in this game, and you lose them all. And so you gotta wait again, either go for a 2 star or hit the JUCO route. So anyway, trying to be funny and yeah, this is it's difficult to tackle or recruit a tackle at the size that you want, the size that you need. Rod Brown, he's good, right? He's a big guy, but he's also short. He's probably under recruited in that space. Um, and that makes for problems if you're not able to get the guys you need for the system you want to run. Then what's the point, right? What's the point of running that system if you don't have the guys? But obviously we've been recruiting a lot of defensive backs. Capone is a defensive back minded guy. It's the kind of system he's wanting to run, and they talked ad nauseum about that on the broadcast. So there's 3 areas of concern there. That's not going to be fixed quickly. Maybe scheme you can fix from game to game, but you're not going to fix recruitment in the middle of the season. Um, you're not going to fix how the other team executes unless you're able to disrupt that in some way.
Yeah, so and that's the part, right? Like I understand the scheme, and I think they've gotten better. Like Dawkins has been good. We called it out on the previews and the post games stuff on the site, where like he's gotten pressure, he's pushed back their tackles and their guards. We've done good on that first couple drives. North Texas had a couple tackles for loss. Like that is good. That's what we want. So I can see the vision of Matt Capone's plan. I can see that they've went out and got guys that are better in those positions, right? Um, Dawkins has been good. Shipley's kind of I haven't I can't I'm struggling to think of a play where I thought he did a great job. I don't think he's been bad though. So it's not like they're that terrible. But in this particular situation against Texas Tech, I think what you can criticize is in this moment it's defensive play calling, right? Defensive personnel that I see what you're trying to do, but Texas Tech has a unique advantage and that they're bigger. That was the thing that you called out on Monday. The head coach called that on Monday. He's like, they're big. Their tight end's huge. They got like three gigantic tight ends. Like, all right, what is our plan to deal with those three tight ends? Is it just to say, no, we're gonna have Ridge Tejada just I don't know be stronger for a weekday? I mean, I don't know what is our plan there. And it
Hold
looked
down a
like
5-star recruit.
yeah, so like it's not gonna happen. We boost his stats a little bit. It doesn't work that way. So what we have is a situation where I think it called for some scheming, some game planning, not season planning, not just overall, you know, defensive planning, but a game to game planning, situational game planning. And that's on Matt Capone, right? He's a defensive coordinator. It's his job to plan for the defense. And it's Eric Morris's job to tell him to plan for that, right? Like Eric Morris knows the plan. And they have a meeting about like how we gonna deal with this. When they go heavy, what are we doing? So that was one play, one touchdown, right? Ultimately, it didn't matter. It's not like they won the game on short yardage. However, I thought our base defense was exploited a ton, especially late, because we had to go. Again, the video game equivalent is saying, "All right, commit to run through the middle," right? Like you could see the entire team just get sucked in on play action. And they had to because dude had 17 carries for 108 yards in the first half, right? He's very good. He made people move. There's a reason he ran for 1,500 yards last year. But then we got beat over the top, right? Guys weren't staying home. We were getting beat because we couldn't stop the run with our base looks. We needed guys flying up, and that was it, right? That all of that combined to getting sliced up. The defense did not do their jobs, but ultimately, it's on Matt Capone to help them do their jobs. I think.
Yeah. I was thinking it was going to be two situation or two ways this game would go. Either it was going to be 55 to 54 and we lose by a point, or we were going to get crushed and it went the wrong way. But it wasn't just because of defense, right? There was a lot of mistakes that snowballed into a bigger effect, right? You can count three plays where those three plays led to 21 points. So I guess four plays that led straight to 28 points, right? Now, the pick six, um, when the defensive back, I'm blanking on his name now, should have stayed with the receiver to fight the reception rather than going for the pick, and led straight to a touchdown. And then the two the deflected balls that turned into an interception that then led to touchdowns. Those are those are 28 points that came off of four plays that you wish you could that are you can never predict, right? You can't factor in, but they're not always going to happen that way. Um, Now, I'm not trying to be positive here, right? Where North Texas could have stayed in this game if it wasn't for the, but it's true, right? North
But
Texas
but
could
for
have
the
stayed in this
35
game.
points we allowed in the second quarter, hey, we were right there.
Yeah, if you take those 35 points out, it becomes a more reasonable game. No, no, when those start to pile up on you, mentally, it's difficult to overcome. Um, Physically, do you really want to perform anymore? The game's over. Can we just let the clock run out? I'm tired. This game hurts. This is not worth executing all 4 quarters. So you start to check out. And I'm not speaking in Texas, but I'm speaking to myself in basketball, where we weren't a great team. We didn't win a lot. And so when we were winning, it was exciting, like, oh, we have an opportunity to steal this one and an upset, whatever. You're excited to play. And then in other games where like it's over before the first quarter is done, before those 8 minutes are done, you're like, oh well, you know, we're just here to play. Let's see what we can do. Let's try to run that one play we thought about after practice. Didn't work. All right, well, let's just try to shoot threes the rest of the game. Um, it's tough, and just those 4 plays where you wished you had, well, on offense, those 3 plays where you want 3 drives to get into score position. You wipe those off the board. You only get what, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. And so now you're saying, all right, well, that's 3 opportunities that are now just gone, that you give it to them, and then they go up and score. You're putting your defense in a bad position, and they can't stop whatever's coming their way. It's not just demoralizing. It makes you not want to play anymore. You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, and then the definition of demoralizing, I think you had it. Like, no, it's not this word that fits my definition. It's some other. No, I agree with you say. So, like, you're right about you only get like 14, 15 drives a game, right? And you can shorten a game by taking a long time. So maybe you can cut down 3, 4 possessions. You get like 10 possessions a game or something like that. But this is gonna be high pace kind of thing. Let me just because we're talking about the defense and they were bad, but I'm a little less critical of them because they're not the strength of the team, right? We didn't hire a defensive coach and have defensive stars and put up a good defensive season last year, right? It was we hired an offensive coach. We had a good offense. We put up good offensive numbers last year, right? That's it. If you open up the game notes, right, North Texas advertises itself as a high-scoring offense. Like Eric Morris is just known for his offense, and blah blah blah. Like that's it. That's what we're saying. Hey, we're a high-powered team. This is how we do things. That's our identity, and that's fine, right? You can get into whether or not we should do that, whatever. We wanted to hire a defensive coach, then we'd look at the defense differently. But offensive head coach, that's their strength. First drive, 3 plays, 3 yards, punt, right? Time possession 1 minute. Second drive, 3 plays, no yards, punt. Third drive, 1 play, 75-yard touchdown. Okay. Next one, 11 plays, 67 yards, field goal attempt because we shanked the field goal. I'll say this about that 11-play drive that some people were talking mess that we tried a little swinging gate thing. And look, I'm all for aggression. I'm all for clever. However, consider that when you run the swinging gate play and it ends with our quarterback running for a 1 yard gain, getting flipped up over his head and nearly, into a headlock. Maybe that's not the best play design, right? It's poorly executed. They also read it well. They knew what was going to happen. And you kind of gave up a valuable play in the red zone, right? Could have been a TD. Anyway, next one, interception, 2 plays, 9 yards, interception. Next one play, 0 yards, interception. Then we gave up, right? 3 plays, 7 yards, punt. Then another one, interception. 3 plays, 5 yards, punt. By then we gave up. And so the rest of the game where we scored 2 touchdowns and punted twice and turned over on downs didn't even matter, right? There was also the half, right? 12 plays, 58 yards. That was one of our best drives, and that was Drew Mestamaker just trying to make it look pretty, right? Getting the lipstick out, trying to find the pig. The game was over, right? Because in the first 4 possessions, 2 punts, a missed field goal, and 1 touchdown. That was a 1-play drive, right? That was all Wyatt Young making a play. Because I think the block, I haven't watched that play again, that block got destroyed. Somebody was supposed to be blocked. That safety killed him. The guy falls over on his back as Wyatt Young avoids that dude and scores. So you could say that even on the touchdown play, the offense wasn't executing as well as it could have, right? Maybe the block needs to come off better.
Yeah, and I think the reason we were going a lot of swing passes is because, and checkdowns is because of Tex clouding the coverage. And I'm not talking about cloud plays, but I'm talking about like they were clouding the
Yeah.
receivers down the field. and the only thing they were given up is down low, and Morris wasn't either he wasn't seeing it or he was gun shy from the previous week throwing all the interceptions, but he wasn't throwing it more than 5-10 yards down the field. Um, he was trying to hit the check downs. He was trying to hit something that was more safe. Um, and so I think again a mental thing, right? Dig out of this situation. And it's what got Tech cooked last week against Washington State, where they focused heavily on the passes down the field, but their quarterback ran all over them. We didn't do the same thing. I thought, people were talking about Morris not having enough time, their guards getting killed or whatever. I thought he had more than enough time to make decisions and make the play. He wasn't seeing the field, or he was too worried to throw the ball down the field to get it picked off, that he was going for the check down. Um, Fine when it works, where you throw one pass and it goes for a 7 yard, 5 yard touchdown. But most of the time, it was not. It just wasn't there for us. So uh, you've got to put Morris in a situation for these easy passes where you can just dump it uh, and not get deflected or not deflected, but bounce off your chest and get intercepted. It, there's no easy answer here. How do you get him back in the game? How do you get him mentally in that gunslinger mentality where for I don't know 6 quarters of the season he's been there.
Yeah, well, I would say I would disagree just a little bit, and then because I thought what's his name, Petros Papadopoulos. I don't like listening to that guy's voice. Like, wow, yeah, wow, well, it's just amazing. That he was always on Pac-12 games, and I never liked listening to him. But that dude, he was saying on the broadcast, the Fox FS1 broadcast, um, that he missed Harris on a check down, like in the red zone. I mean, again, yes or no. I think that I saw Morris processing the play, and I didn't think that he got hurried or he was waiting too long. I think there's a natural time click, right? It should be one, two, three, four. You should do that. There's also things where you read the play pre-snap, right? You step up, you look, and based on the look the defense is giving you, you pick a side of the field, right? Or a concept that you think is like we have a man beater this way, we have a zone beater this way. And so if I'm getting a man look, I'm gonna look, this way, left. Or if it looks like a zone look, I'm gonna look right. And then or you check out of the play. You kind of that's your job. So that way your decision could be quick. The ball's gonna come out now because you already have an idea of what it's gonna be. Now when defenses mess with you is that it looks like it's going to be too high, and then you snap the ball, and then you see a safety roll down. They spin the safeties, and then you have one deep. And you're like, okay, now it's cover one or cover three or something, single high, middle of the field close. That changes my thinking. Now I'm not going to throw this one. I'm going to throw. I'm looking for a dig or something. Something that's going to beat it, whatever. And so there's processing involved. Defenses they know the air raid too. They know what you're looking for. They're like they also know the keys, right? If we give them this look and then drop to this one, then the call that they make is not going to be there. Whatever. I thought that you throw the ball to Demasha Harris and he slips on the field and he when he's trying to make a cut. Some of that's Demasha Harris. Some of that's the equipment team, right? Give him better cleats, I guess. And the other thing is some of that is we just need a different player in there, right? Like Demasha Harris did a great job last week, but I thought in this game he didn't look that great. I thought he hit the holes a little slow. Definitely compared to even like I said, it was backups against backups, but Shane Porter looked aggressive running the ball. Zach Evans looked aggressive running the ball. He looked like he was happy to be out there. He looked quick. Um, and so if you're gonna throw a check down pass, that's great because it's still a player that can make plays in space, catch the ball and turn up field. I will happily take 3-4 yards every time. 5 yards, right? Like it's no different than a 4 yard run. It makes the defense make decisions, and if you're throwing that check down, now they're gonna fly up, and then you can throw something else behind them, right? They're like, oh, check down time coming. I know this play. Oh, and we faked you. Now we just threw it behind your head. That happened to North Texas a few times, right? We were flying up for the run game, and they threw it over our head, touchdown. touchdown Texas Tech, because we were flying up to stop the thing we knew was coming.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that point, but I think we might be belaboring the point now, but the receivers are taught the same thing, right? Read sometimes you have an option to keep going on the route, if Y cross, right?
Yeah,
It's the one of the easier air raid plays. You have the tight end or wide receiver flexed out off the line. Runs a little cross. He either in front of the linebacker, behind the linebacker, and he can either continue all the way to the sideline, or if it's in zone, he can drop in the soft spot to allow the quarterback just to dump it to him. And that's easy, quote unquote easy, 8, 10 yards depending on where he's stopping. Guys like Sides and Young were doing that. They need to change their numbers. One of them's got to be in the 20s, and the other one's got to be a different number. It's hard to
yeah.
to
Everybody was like,
when they're
"Land
flying down the
inside,
field.
touchdown." You're like, "Oh, that was actually Wyatt Young." Yeah.
Right, right. So when you're watching TV and you only see two, you're like, oh, which one is it? Anyway, um, they're hitting the soft part of the zone, so he's between two defenders, but Morris hesitates to go that direction. I think that was one of the more frustrating parts that I was experiencing watching the game. He was either going down the sideline or the check down. Um, I mean, again,
Well,
it goes back to not wanting to throw a pick, maybe, but
here's the other part of that, because I think because we're talking about like where's he going with the ball, and I think I personally I was fine for the most part where he was going. I understand the decision he's making, throwing it play. My further point is that when you throw that ball, it's on the guys who make plays, right? And I'm less critical of the freshman. Like Wyatt Young is a freshman, and I think Chandler Morse last week nearly killed him by throwing the ball like in the sky. Wyatt Young leaps to make a catch, and the guy spears him in the gut, and Wyatt Young has to puke. You see why they're throwing the quick screens. They want to get guys in space with some blockers and move up the field. It works, 75-yard touchdown. And you saw Miles Coleman doing a lot of the same thing. But when we throw the ball down the field, Damon Ward got to catch the ball, right? Blair Conrad got to catch the ball. Those are our senior wide receivers, right? We know Damon Ward can do it. We've lauded him for his efforts and his time and his abilities. I think he's hurting or something. Something looks weird about him. The first play I talked about, right? 3 plays, 3 yards. The first drive, I mean. We roll out and we throw it on 3rd and 7. It was 3rd and 7 because we got called for. We try to be clever, fake like we couldn't hear because of crowd noise. They did a direct snap, but the guard moved or something. The tackle moved, so it's 3rd and 7. We roll out left, and we find right. This is again Chandler Morris playing good quarterback, rolling out, getting on the move, firing the ball down the sideline. Dame Ward drops the ball. Hit him
it
in the
was
bread
on the
basket.
money too.
Yeah, hit him in the bread basket, drops the ball. You got to make that catch. That's it. That is almost as bad as Wyatt Young and Kyle Koch, missing that one. You're dropping the ball, right? And then Blair Conrad down the sideline, they throw it to him. You got to make that catch. That's a senior wide receiver kind of catch that we expected you to make. Again, freshman, not necessarily. There's a lot of technique and all kinds of other stuff that you have to get to that. But that one, you got to make that catch. He doesn't make it. So those are two guys that we expect a lot from because they're senior wide receivers, especially Blair Conrad because he's done it at TCU. He's had a lot of time. Damon Ward, he had the dropsies last week, and then they continued to this week. He made a big catch on 4th down. It was our 4th drive of the game, that 11 play, 67-yard one. He had a big catch on 4th down. Great job. But he almost dropped it. It hit his hands.
Yeah,
It fell
bobbled
down.
it.
He caught it again, and he landed on the ball. And then so then he was hurt after that one. Like it's again, it's one of those things where like you need your best players to make the best plays in the biggest moments, right? We're asking a lot of Chandler Morris because he touches the ball on every play, but Damon Ward has played 2 terrible football games after having an outstanding one. We gave him a lot of praise for the week one, deserved, but I think he deserves a lot of criticism for these last 2 weeks. Now, if he's hurt and he's playing through it, I mean, I don't know. Like, I ask you, is it better to play hurt and drop the ball, or to sit down and not play? Like,
Well, it depends on
yeah,
who else is out there, right? If Ward is going to attract attention away from somebody like Young, Sides, Conrad, whoever, right?
yeah,
then keep him in there. But if you swap in Coleman, and obviously he showed lots of flashes, right? But if you put in Coleman, you can't trust him if he's a freshman or whatever. Same reasons you just said about Wyatt
Yeah.
Young.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a frustrating situation. Like you need again, you need Conrad and you need Dame Ward to do big things, and so like Aaron's in there, but he can probably play a little Z receiver, to step in for Dame Ward or something. But that's the deal is that like eventually you have to look at your best players, your most experienced players, your leadership, and say you guys have to carry do the job, because if you're not doing the job, we need somebody else to step up, right? The requirements of this Z receiver position are to catch the ball in big moments, right? Third down and 7, we look to our senior wide receiver to make catches, right? When it hits him in the breadbasket, it's right in the stomach. Got to catch that ball. And then the other one, he caught it, but that can be better, right? That's one of those ones where we're like, all right, good job, but he and his wide receiver coach got to be like, all right, that was not good enough. That's not our standard. Our standard is catching the ball, right? Two hands,
Use your
yeah,
hands.
away from the body, and making a strong catch, getting a first down, right? All the technique stuff. So hopefully he'll shake that off and he'll come back next week against Wyoming and be better, be another 12 catch, 230-yard guy or something like that. But right now, what we need from him is to get open and make two catches, two big moment catches. That's it. So Ward, Coke, uh, Wyatt Young, he made a mistake. He scored a touchdown, but he made a mistake too. Huge drops, right? And I think Cook probably has to shake all that off. He's a freshman receiver. He's done good. He's big. He's a big target. I think he'll get better. I'm not really worried about him. It's part of the game, being a freshman receiver, going to a big environment, and messing up. I think all this is important work. It's important to go out there and you see what you need to be, what level you need to be at, right? You see the standard that it needs to be. You see the windows that you have. Like, oh, it turns out it was a little easier to get open against Stephen F. Austin than it was against Texas Tech, whose defense is not even good. Um, so then you understand how quickly you need to get, like how you need to hit it, the level that you need to bring every game. Um, Everybody needs to improve. I like Zach Evans. I think that he showed a little bit more than Demonte Harris. This is also might have just been a situational game. All that because I know we're running out of time. I will say this: we could have just caught them at the wrong time, right? They had it was a little bit of a come to Jesus moment for Texas Tech. They didn't play well at Washington State. They were talking about their defense all week. They were, challenging dudes. The offense had a little bit of that same situation where Kitley was getting a little pressure for not scoring points. And they also got their talisman, right? Taj Brooks back. And you could see that he's a different level of running back. Where like I think Dickey, their backup, did okay stuff, but Taj Brooks he's just a different level. He's hard to tackle. He has incredible patience. He has a little burst. You can see that he's a different level of a running back. And
Yeah, he's the kind of guy where you have 11 defenders worried about one guy,
yeah, and he
and it's
changed.
not the quarterback.
Yeah, we were hopeful that we could stop him if we were making Baron Morton have to make decisions because we saw him like heave the ball up. You can see he got a little loose with it a couple times, like rolling around, just throwing the ball some places, and maybe you're like, oh, okay, we probably steal an interception one of these times. But when he's doing play action and the guy's wide ass open, you know, not just wide open, wide ass open. He's like, oh, this is easy. That's how you go, 14 to 15 for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. What was it?
The specific technique, by the way, wide ass technique.
Yeah. Can we steal that wide ass open technique? How do they get that? 15 to 19, 273, 4 touchdowns for the guy. He was killing it. Chandler Morris, by the way, 15 to 27, 162, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Yeah, he dropped off the yards per game line. He's dropping off the rating. He's dropping off the efficiency. Again, we talked about the interceptions. 2 of them definitely weren't his fault. One, I think maybe I would say don't throw that ball, but 6 interceptions last 2 weeks.
I feel like it's gonna change.
Well, it better, right? Wyoming, we're trying to get a sellout. Here's the last thing I want to talk about before we go. Because everybody's like, oh, I'm selling my tickets, or I'm not going to the game, or I can't support this. I understand all that. Nobody's saying like enthusiastically do it. Nobody seemed to be happy about it. I'd say put a smile on your face. Enjoy the 66-21 loss, guys. However, um, to me, it's like you either like football or you don't, right? You either like your team or you don't. And I get maybe you don't do the extra stuff, but like for me, I'm gonna watch North Texas football because I like football and I like North Texas, and put them together. I'm gonna watch North Texas football, right?
Yeah. I
And
watched all 60 minutes of that
yeah,
painful
I,
game.
I did. It was awful. It was terrible. It was not fun, whatever like that. But like, I'm not gonna not wear UNT green. You know what I mean? I'm gonna talk. We're podcasting about it. We're a little bit on the extreme side of it. But I think if you're just a casual fan, I mean, you either like the stuff or you don't. And if you don't, I think then that's fine, right? I don't think you can complain like you are a diehard and you're not. Like I know you want to watch Oklahoma. Go watch Oklahoma, man. It's fine. Go enjoy Oklahoma football. That's what you like. Cool, right? But then to come over in the North Texas space and then acting like you care, you don't care because you want to watch Oklahoma football. You're over there watching it. You can't wait for the Texas game later on. That's your thing. That's okay. I'm not telling you you're wrong, but you can't be in both spaces, right? I think you be in one or the other. I like North Texas football. I'm gonna care. I'm gonna show up. Now, everything else, I think you have to build diehard fans. I don't want to just get casual fans. I don't want to convince a guy, no, 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 no. Hey, you can watch the Oklahoma game on your phone, but come to North Texas. Like, I don't really care about them. I think you have to build diehard North Texas fans, right? That's how you do. How do you do that? Yes, you need to have special moments. Really, ultimately comes down to winning. You win, you get them, right? You create special moments, and that's all the things. Like, do you have an incredible time at a tailgate? Do you make friends and family around the football game, like building around football culture, that whole thing? Does everybody have a great time in and around North Texas football? And that's beyond the winning and losing. Like, do you have a great time at the ticket office? Do you have a great time getting snacks? Do you have a great time with bringing your children there? Is
Yeah.
it easy
The
to part? All those
in-game
things.
experience. Yeah,
All
the
of those things.
fireworks.
Yeah, all of that stuff is how you build memories, and then people associate them with North Texas football, and that's how you do it. But you also need people that just love football, right? You can't just have people that just like snacks. Like everybody likes snacks. you know, like you gotta like football, and I don't know that we have enough football liking people out there. Cause I could tell people tweeting about the game, man. Like this guy done
I
never
mean,
seen no football before, man.
there's a lot of discussion that can be. I don't know if we've got enough time for it, but like the city and the athletic department need to come together and do something, right? Like I think I tweeted about it, where here, the Apple Cup was this weekend, or
Say where
Washington
here
State,
is. Where is here?
uh, here in Washington, the state of the sunny state of Washington,
Yeah.
um,
The Pacific Northwest. Yeah.
the Pacific Northwest, where
Mm-hmm.
Washington and Washington State exist. They play each other every year since 1930 something or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a long time,
The
100
Apple Cup.
something
Yeah.
years. And Apple Cup is a big event for everybody. And they even do it in the schools. They have Apple Cup walks, Apple Cup events in the elementary schools, and they bring in parents and I mean it's a genius idea, right? I don't even know if the universities had anything to do with it, but there's such a passion for those two schools that they do this thing. It's like it's Washington or Washington State people in these schools.
Yeah.
Oregon and Oregon State, yeah, whatever. But that's mainly the thing. And so if there's anything we can do, or we being the city of Denton, in partnership with the athletics to bring basically indoctrination into these elementary schools to get them to be excited about North Texas football, give them free tickets, whatever, like the Texas Legends when they went into Frisco, they'd go into all the elementary schools and give out hundreds of free tickets. And then you gain a following because you make it fun. It's a minor league or G League basketball or whatever it is. Make it easy to get there. Uh, you know, make that a better experience. And I don't think the city of Denton has done enough to make that a better experience, right? Bonnie Bray sucks to go up and down. Parking sucks to get in and out of. So they need to take some responsibility and help engage the population better. Because when you think North Texas, yeah, it's in Denton, but it's two different areas, two different spaces that don't necessarily coexist. Yeah, you have supporters wearing green. You got John Williams downtown, and he's a Mean Green fan, and he'll host parties at his bar. But that doesn't. It's just a separate space in Denton, and then there's the other part of Denton, and I don't think they coexist very well, and that needs to change. But I don't have the answers of how that will happen.
Yeah, you could feel that. You always feel that. And I had a lot of discussions about it with some of the townies is what I call them. I'm trying to make that a thing. It's like the Dentonites that are like, yeah, there's like almost an antagonism towards the school, right? They're like, ugh, the school's always trying to do this. They're out there. They think they own the town. Denton is not the University of North Texas, right? They kind of push back on it. And then the other part is like where the University of North Texas kind of feels like, oh, Denton's always fighting this way. They got to realize that they're in partnership with each other. Like there's no Denton without University of North Texas, and then University of North Texas doesn't exist if it doesn't have a Denton support system. Right? They're together. And yeah, I mean, I know it's painting broad strokes here, but yeah, I think it's a long process, right? And people have been talking about it for a long time. A lot of progress has been made, from university administrators that they were like, I'm not really big on football, to other ones that are like, yeah, let's go all in. Credit Rick Villarreal, good and bad. He did a lot of stuff for it, and then Ren Baker. By the way, Ren Baker looks great. You see him? He's looking svelte now.
Oh yeah, looking
Yeah.
good.
And then Mosley. He's trying to put a stamp on it. They're doing this big thing. They're like, we'll do this dunk tank thing. I guess maybe he watched Grease and he was like, yeah, I remember that dunk tanks. Let's do that. No, so they're doing that, and they're trying to sell out the Wyoming game. I think it's great. It's what we need. We need that kind of stuff. Like make it fun. Like you can't just say, here's our thing, here's our product, put it on the shelf. Now, if you buy it, it's your job. Trying to
Yeah,
make it a
but
thing. Come out there and try to buy it.
and I understand that, right? But
Yeah.
but where that is coming out is on campus. It's coming out on Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a very limited scope.
I
You know,
agree with
is
that. Yeah.
is is it being broadcast in the city? Is it in the newspaper?
Mm-hmm.
Is it on the 5 o'clock news? That's where that ends, right?
Yeah.
Where that line needs to be crossed and line needs to be it's not a line, it's a barrier. If we can break through that barrier, it would
Yeah.
help.
I think you're right, and I think the last thing we'll say about this is that one issue facing Denton is that Denton doesn't have its own media outside of the DRC, right? Denton Record Chronicle. There's no Denton broadcast media, right? Where we're close enough to Dallas where we're like, well, I'll just watch Dallas news or Dallas media and that kind of stuff. And Dallas doesn't care about North Texas, right? Because Dallas, like you said, Dallas is a big place, and it's very much like Los Angeles, where like there's so many things to do, bud, that if you're not the hottest thing, then we don't care, and that's fine. So you get that because you have that part of the appeal for North Texas, but Denton doesn't. They get their news from Dallas. They don't get Denton only news, so it's hard to get the message out again unless you put it
Yeah.
in the Chronicle or something, or maybe the local radio station. But it's very difficult to find that space to only target Denton area people. But yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
It just makes
I
it's
totally agree.
difficult. Doesn't mean don't do it. It means you have to
Yeah.
figure out a way to do it.
But even in the Seattle broadcast, it's like you've got Washington State people trash talking Washington people on air,
Yeah,
all fun jabs and stuff.
yeah,
It's great to see, and just wish that something like that would translate in Dallas. And it's less a North Texas thing and more a Dallas thing, like you said.
yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, we have Wyoming this week. It's at home. If you can make it to the game, make it to the game. You know, they got chair backs now. I hear, so you can lean back as you're watching the game. What a
Back in my day,
good, what a good game. Yeah, so they take on Wyoming, which I think is struggling a little bit. So, we'll get into the preview. We'll write about Wyoming, all the good stuff that we have been doing. We'll continue to do. Go Green.
go mean green.